I hacked my own company on a live call with the board of directors. Now the FBI is seizing my life. I was staring down the barrel of 3 simultaneous video feeds when the unmistakable, metallic click of my custom audio mixer sealed my fate. The FBI wouldn't kick my front door off its hinges for another 48 hours, but sitting there in my ergonomic mesh chair, watching 3 different chief executive officers scream my name in perfect, overlapping harmony, I was already a dead man. You have to understand the sheer, intoxicating power of pulling down $500,000 a year in your pajamas. I wasn't just working the system, I was the undisputed god of my own private matrix. In the obscure, hyper-paranoid corners of Reddit's Overemployed community, I was a legend in the making. While most tech workers were begging for 3% annual raises and crying over return-to-office mandates, I was operating a deeply covert, highly illegal, and insanely profitable digital empire right out of my spare bedroom. I was a senior software architect, a title that basically meant I was paid to think rather than type. And I used that leverage to land 3 full-time, remote senior roles simultaneously. Job A was with Guardian Cyber, a heavy-hitting cybersecurity firm contracted by federal agencies and massive financial institutions. I was their lead defense architect. My boss, Marcus, was a humorless, ex-military fanatic who breathed fire and demanded absolute perfection. Job B was Vaulted Financial, a mid-tier fintech company aggressively trying to steal market share from the big banks. I was their head of encryption, reporting directly to the board of directors and an utterly ruthless CEO named Sarah. And then there was Job C, OmniSpeech AI, a wildly funded Silicon Valley startup building next-generation enterprise communication tools. My manager there was Elias, a 20-something tech bro who cared more about my vibes and output than my actual working hours. To keep these 3 massive, demanding worlds from violently colliding, I built a command center that rivaled an air traffic control tower. My desk was a 12-foot slab of reinforced oak, groaning under the weight of 3 separate, company-issued MacBook Pros. I had 2 physical, hardware-level mouse jigglers, little mechanical turntables that kept my cursors moving and my Slack statuses glowing a permanent, reassuring green. But the crown jewel of my deception was the audio mixer. I had custom soldered a massive, physical switchboard with 3 heavy-duty toggle switches. Left was Job A, center was Job B, right was Job C. It was a physical kill switch. Up meant live, down meant hardware mute. No software glitches, no accidental hot mics. I thought it was completely foolproof. I thought I was invincible. And for an entire year, I was. I collected 3 paychecks, maxed out 3 401ks, and used OmniSpeech's own proprietary, unreleased AI to clone my voice. I fed the AI hours of my own recorded audio, trained it on my exact cadence, and ran a Python script that literally attended Job C's daily morning stand-ups for me. My AI clone would sit in a Zoom call, wait for my name to be called, and digitally synthesize a perfectly exhausted, "Yeah, I'm unblocked today, just pushing some commits to the staging branch. Might need a code review later." It was a masterpiece of corporate evasion. I was sleeping through my $160,000 a year AI job while technically working my $180,000 a year cybersecurity job. Then came Financial Friday. It was the last Friday of the fiscal quarter, a day when the corporate pressure cooker cranks up to maximum pressure. The air in my home office felt thick, heavy with the exhaust heat of 3 laptops running at maximum processing capacity. I was sweating through my shirt, my eyes darting frantically between the glowing monitors. On my left monitor, Job A was conducting a massive, high-stakes security breach simulation. We had 50 engineers on the call, and Marcus was demanding a live demonstration. My role was to act as the red team attacker for the first 15 minutes, demonstrating a critical vulnerability, before switching to the blue team defense to show how we would patch it. On my center monitor, Job B was hosting an all-hands board of directors meeting. I was the keynote speaker. Sarah, the CEO, had invited their top investors to watch me present Aegis, a new, theoretically, unhackable, encryption protocol I had designed for their main server architecture. It was 10:14 a.m. I had exactly 1 minute to transition from smoothly presenting a PowerPoint slide to the billionaires at Job B, over to running a live penetration test for the security zealots at Job A. My heart was a jackhammer against my ribs. I felt the familiar, adrenaline-soaked thrill of walking the tightrope. I reached out with my left hand, my fingers slick with cold sweat, hovering over the custom audio mixer. I needed to flip the center switch down to mute Job B, and the left switch up to unmute Job A. And as you can see on slide 14, I said smoothly into my condenser microphone, projecting absolute confidence to the Job B board, "The Aegis protocol mathematically basically guarantees that even a brute force attack on our main servers would take a millennia. If you'll excuse me for just one brief moment, I need to pull up the live architecture environment on my other screen. I reached for the mixer, but my hand was shaking. Just a millimeter of a tremor, born from too much caffeine and a year of compounded, terrifying stress. Instead of cleanly snapping the center switch down to commute, my sweaty finger dragged horizontally across the slick plastic casing. I bumped the master toggle, a tiny, yellow switch I had wired for emergency diagnostics. It was the bridge mode. I didn't notice the amber light flash on the console. I didn't realize that my microphone was now transmitting a crystal clear, uncompressed audio feed into both the Job A Zoom call and the Job B Zoom call simultaneously. I turned my head sharply to the left, staring at the Guardian Cyber monitor, completely ignoring the vaulted financial monitor in the center of my desk. Okay, guys, for today's simulation, I barked into the microphone, my voice echoing loudly in the silent home office. I'm going to show you how absolutely easy it is to bypass the pathetic, garbage-tier security of a mid-tier fintech firm. These guys think they are secure, but I've already found a gaping backdoor in their main server architecture. Watch this. I grabbed my mouse, clicked onto my shared screen for Job A, and opened a black terminal window. My fingers flew across the mechanical keyboard, slamming out a series of brutal, highly illegal SSH commands. I'm bypassing their firewall right now, I narrated, my voice dripping with arrogant, theatrical condescension for the benefit of Marcus and the Job A security team. They left a legacy API key hard-coded in an open GitHub repository. It's amateur hour. I am literally walking through their front door and taking complete control of their production database. That's when the real bombshell dropped. The mid-tier fintech firm I was using as an easy, pathetic target for my Job A security demonstration was Vaulted Financial. Job B. I had discovered the vulnerability weeks ago while working for them, and instead of patching it, I selfishly kept it in my back pocket to use as a flashy, guaranteed to impress prop for my Job A performance review. I thought it was a victimless crime. I thought I was a genius recycling my workload. I was literally demonstrating how to aggressively hack my own second employer, broadcasting the crime to my first employer, while actively presenting to the board of directors of the company I was destroying. What the hell are you doing? Sarah hissed. Her voice exploded through my headphones, loud and sharp enough to make me physically flinch. I froze, my fingers hovering paralyzed over the keyboard. I stared at the left monitor. Marcus wasn't speaking. The Job A call was entirely silent. Luke, answer me right now, Sarah screamed, the digital distortion of the Zoom call clipping her audio into a terrifying screech. Are you penetrating our live production environment? I felt the blood drain from my face so fast the room physically tilted. The heat rising in my neck felt like a chemical burn, and my vision went blurry with sudden, paralyzing terror. I slowly turned my head toward the center monitor. The Vaulted Financial Board meeting. Because I had bumped the bridge switch, I wasn't just sharing my audio to both calls. The terminal window I had violently dragged across my monitors was now front and center on the screen share for Job B. The billionaire investors, the chief financial officer, and Sarah were sitting in absolute, horrified silence, watching my cursor rapidly delete firewalls and bypass security protocols on their own, live proprietary servers. I had just shown them the digital equivalent of breaking into their vault and holding a match over a pile of gasoline-soaked cash. Sarah, I whispered, the sound pathetic and dry in the back of my throat. I can explain. You're penetrating a live client of ours, Luke, a deep, rumbling voice interrupted. It was Marcus. From Job A. Because the microphones were bridged, Marcus could hear Sarah. And Sarah could hear Marcus. Who is that? Sarah yelled, her eyes wide on the webcam feed, searching frantically around the Zoom grid as if the intruder were hiding in the UI. Who else is on this call? Luke, who are you talking to? This is Marcus Vance, Director of Security at Guardian Cyber, Marcus barked back, his voice thick with rising, explosive anger. Luke is our lead defense architect. He is running a live simulation on your infrastructure. Who the hell are you, and why does he have access to your production keys? He's our head of encryption. Sarah shrieked, her composure completely shattering in front of her board of directors. He's been working for us full-time for 8 months. He just told us this system was unhackable, and now he is actively dismantling it on a shared screen. I sat there, utterly paralyzed, the breath trapped in my lungs like concrete. The two CEOs were now openly warring in my headphones, their voices tangling into a vicious, incomprehensible knot of corporate rage. Marcus was threatening to terminate my employment for violating the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Sarah was screaming at her CIO CFO to shut down the Elias, please, I begged, my voice cracking, tears of absolute, unfiltered panic prickling the corners of my eyes. It's a hardware glitch. I can shut it down. Don't bother, Elias replied coldly. Because while I was reviewing the anomaly log, we discovered something else. You aren't just overlapping audio streams, Luke. We just realized you've been running your personal, deepfake AI voice cloner directly on our private servers to fake your presence in our internal engineering stand-ups for the last 6 months. You've been using our own machine learning algorithms to steal from us. Wait, he works for you too. Sarah screamed, the sheer absurdity of the situation pushing her completely over the edge. He's triple employed, while handling our Tier 1 financial data. Not anymore, Marcus hissed, his voice dropping into a deadly, terrifying register. Luke, you are currently conducting an unauthorized, malicious cyber attack on a live financial institution using Guardian cyber hardware. You have catastrophically breached protocol, violated your non-disclosure agreements, and committed a federal crime on a recorded line. Do not touch your keyboard. Do not attempt to log out. We are locking you down. I didn't even have time to plead. On the left monitor, the Guardian Cyber terminal window abruptly froze. A violently bright, red banner slammed down across the screen, account terminated. Azure AD tokens revoked. Less than a second later, the center monitor flickered. The terrified faces of the vaulted financial board of directors vanished, replaced by a cold, gray screen displaying a brutal, automated message, OKTA authentication failed. Credentials seized. And finally, the right monitor went completely dark. Speech AI wiped the machine remotely. I sat in the suffocating silence of my home office, staring at 3 black rectangles reflecting my own pale, terrified face back at me. The whirring of the laptop fans slowly died down. The mechanical mouse jigglers clicked uselessly in the quiet room, pushing cursors across screens that no longer had an operating system to interact with. In the span of exactly 90 seconds, I had vaporized $500,000 in recurring revenue, incinerated my entire professional reputation, and confessed to a felony on a live recording shared with some of the most powerful corporate executives in the country. Because I was officially on the clock for Guardian Cyber, using their corporate network to actively exploit and dismantle the live server infrastructure of Vaulted Financial, a registered banking institution, the incident wasn't handled by human resources. It was handled by the Department of Justice. It was legally classified as domestic corporate espionage and wire fraud. Vaulted Financial's lawyers claimed my demonstration had compromised the data integrity of millions of user accounts. Guardian Cyber sued me for utilizing their proprietary penetration tools to execute an unsanctioned cyber attack. Speech AI threw their hat in the ring just for good measure, hitting me with a brutal civil suit for intellectual property theft regarding the voice cloning algorithm. 48 hours later, the silence of my house was violently shattered. I didn't even hear them knock. I just heard the deafening splintering of wood as a federal battering ram took my front door completely off its hinges. Armed agents in tactical gear swarmed my hallway, their boots tracking mud onto my expensive hardwood floors. They didn't even ask me any questions. They just aggressively zip-tied my wrists behind my back, pushed me onto my living room sofa, and began systematically dismantling my life's work. I watched, completely numb, as they ripped the heavy XLR cables out of my custom audio mixer. I watched them bag and tag the 3 MacBook Pros, the mechanical keyboards, and the tiny, physical kill switch that had caused this entire nightmare. They took my hard drives, my server racks, and my phone. They cataloged my hubris into sterile plastic evidence bags. Now, the only work I do is sitting in a depressing, fluorescent-lit interrogation room, trying to help my exhausted, court-appointed defense attorney understand the technical logistics of KVM switches and bridged microphones. I am facing up to 15 years in a federal penitentiary, staring down millions of dollars in restitution that I will absolutely never be able to pay. I thought I had beaten the corporate machine. I thought I was the smartest guy in every virtual room I entered. If I had just taken one job, I'd be sitting on a beach right now, respected and financially secure. Instead, I built a house of cards on top of an active landmine, and I handed the detonator to 3 different billionaires at the exact same time. Am I the architect of my own absolute destruction, or did the toxic, crushing demands of modern corporate capitalism push me to do what I had to do?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.